Today we will start our unit on probability. Now you have heard this term before, probability. Little did you know maybe that it was a mathematical term. So if you said, well, it's not too probable that it will get dark at 3 o'clock this afternoon, you were just really speaking mathematically. Probability refers to the chance of something happening. So let's just pretend this is a spinner, like from a game, a circle spinner, and you flick the arrow and it spins around. You could either land in this big red area or in this smaller white area. So you could say that it is more probable that it will land in the red. It's not definite because it could still land in this white area. Let's say you had a penny or a coin. And we all know that there is a heads and a tails, two sides. So if I flipped the coin, we probably, can either land on a head or a tail. There's just two possibilities. Let's say we took the month of January. What's the probability that January has 31 days? Well, we know that January has 31 days. It always has 31 days. So it is 100% likely. And then we have a cube, and we could call it a die. It has 6 sides, so each side, one has 1 dot, one has 2, one has 3, 4, 5, 6. What's the probability of me rolling this die and it get a 9? Well, it's not probable at all. It can't happen. So we say the probability is 0. So probability can go all the way from 0 to 100%. We can talk about probability in percents. So if it's a probability of 0%, that means it's never going to happen. A probability of 100% means it's always going to happen. And we could go anywhere in between. We could have a probability of 50%. That means it will happen half the time. So now I just said another word, half. So we could also refer to probability in a fraction. 50% is also 1/2. If it is more likely to occur than not, it might be 75% of the time, or 3/4 of the time. And we know that if we can write something as a percent or a fraction, we could write it as a decimal. So if we wrote our probabilities as a decimal, it could be 0, 100% is 1, 1/2 is 0.5, 3/4 is 0.75, you could have a 0.1, so anywhere in there. Those are the ways that we can talk about probability. So let's just take something, for example, say the weather person on TV or online said, tomorrow there is a 35% chance of rain. What does that really mean? 35% chance. That means if tomorrow were to happen 100 times, 35 of those would be raining. That's all that means. It doesn't mean it's going to rain 35% of the day. It's the chance or the probability that it will rain is 35%. We can represent that 35% different ways. Like we already said, there's a 35% chance of it raining. And as we said here, we could represent it by decimals and fractions too. So if we were to represent 35% as a decimal, that would be 0.35. Not 0.35%, 0.35. These two are the same. And since we can do this as a decimal, we could also represent it as a fraction. So 0.35 is 35/100ths. Now we should always reduce or simplify our fraction. So if we did this, we could divide each one by 5. So our probability is 7/20. So these are all ways we can write probability of 35%. And now we will continue and practice probability.